Jeffrey Dahmer is a name that evokes horror. Known as the Butcher of Milwaukee, he committed some of the most gruesome crimes in American history. Dahmer's heinous acts have left a permanent scar on society. His story is a dark tale of a man with a seemingly insatiable appetite for murder and cannibalism. From an early age, he exhibited strange behaviors. These behaviors escalated into something far more sinister in his adulthood. By the time he was apprehended, Dahmer had claimed the lives of 17 men and boys. The nickname Butcher of Milwaukee encapsulates the brutality of his actions. The following sections explore the depths of his depravity, from how he ensnared his victims to the ghastly acts he performed. Jeffrey Dahmer had a predatory charm. He used this to lure unsuspecting victims. His targets were often young men and boys, whom he met in gay bars, shopping malls, and bus stops. Dahmer was meticulous, choosing those who appeared vulnerable or isolated. His approach was friendly, offering money or alcohol to entice them to his apartment. Once he had his victims within the confines of his home, Dahmer's true nature emerged. He would offer them a drink, which was laced with sedatives. These drugs rendered his victims unconscious, making them easy targets for his sinister plans. Dahmer's calm demeanor during these moments is chilling in retrospect. His victims trusted him, not knowing the fate that awaited them. Once his victims were incapacitated, Dahmer's true monstrosity revealed itself. He would strangle them to death, ensuring they could not resist. The lifeless bodies were then subject to his gruesome rituals. Dismemberment was a common practice for Dahmer. He meticulously dissected the bodies, often keeping parts as macabre trophies. He stored body parts in his freezer, preserving them for later use. This act of preservation extended to his next horrifying practice, cannibalism. Cannibalism was not just an act of consumption for Dahmer. It was a way to feel connected to his victims. The brutality of Dahmer's actions is hard to fathom. His crimes were not just acts of violence. They were expressions of a profoundly disturbed mind. Jeffrey Dahmer's reign of terror might have continued if not for a lucky escape. Tracy Edwards was a young man who fell into Dahmer's trap but managed to survive. On July 22, 1991, Edwards met Dahmer, who invited him to his apartment with the promise of money. Once inside, Dahmer's true intentions became clear. Dahmer handcuffed Edwards and attempted to sedate him. However, Edwards realized the danger he was in and fought back. He managed to escape the apartment and flagged down 2 police officers. Edwards' frantic account of his encounter led the officers back to Dahmer's residence. This moment marked the beginning of the end for the Butcher of Milwaukee. Edwards' escape was a pivotal moment, exposing Dahmer's crimes to the world and leading to his capture. The search of Dahmer's apartment revealed a house of horrors. The police found photographs documenting the dismemberment of his victims. In the freezer, police discovered a gruesome collection of human remains. Heads, hearts, and other body parts were meticulously preserved. Dahmer intended to consume these parts later. Further inspection revealed tools used for dismemberment, including saws and knives. These instruments were stained with the blood of his victims. The apartment, once a seemingly normal living space, was now a crime scene of unprecedented horror. The evidence was overwhelming. Each item found in the apartment painted a clearer picture of a man who had descended into the darkest depths of human depravity. Jeffrey Dahmer's arrest marked the end of his gruesome killing spree, bringing a sense of relief to the community that had been living in fear. However, it was just the beginning of a lengthy and complex legal process that would captivate the nation. Dahmer was charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder, each charge accompanied by a detailed and chilling account of his horrific crimes. The evidence collected was overwhelming, with detectives meticulously piecing together the gruesome details from crime scene photos and case files. The trial quickly became a media spectacle, drawing international attention and filling the courtroom with reporters and cameras. Dahmer initially pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, hoping to avoid the full weight of the law. However, the overwhelming evidence and the methodical nature of his crimes made it difficult to convince the jury of his insanity. The prosecution presented a compelling and detailed case, emphasizing Dahmer's calculated approach and the sheer brutality of his actions. They showcased crime scene photos and other evidence, painting a vivid picture of the horrors Dahmer inflicted on his victims. Witnesses, including surviving victim Tracy Edwards, provided powerful and emotional testimonies that left a lasting impact on the jury. After a grueling 2-week trial, Dahmer was found guilty on all counts, a verdict that was met with a mix of relief and sorrow in the courtroom. He was sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms in prison, effectively ensuring he would never be released and could never harm anyone again. This sentence brought a sense of closure to the families of the victims and the community at large. Dahmer's conviction was a testament to the resilience and courage of those who survived his attacks, and the unwavering dedication of law enforcement officers who worked tirelessly to bring him to justice. Jeffrey Dahmer's life in prison was far from peaceful. He was housed in a maximum security facility, isolated from other inmates due to the nature of his crimes. Dahmer's notoriety made him a target. He spent most of his time in solitary confinement, reflecting on his actions and the impact they had on his victims and their families. Despite the isolation, Dahmer faced constant threats from other inmates. His crimes were so heinous that even hardened criminals were repulsed. In 1994, Dahmer's time in prison came to a violent end. He was attacked by a fellow inmate while performing cleaning duties. The assault was brutal, and Dahmer succumbed to his injuries shortly afterward. His death was met with mixed reactions. Some saw it as a fitting end, while others believed he should have faced his punishment in full. The media coverage of Jeffrey Dahmer's crimes was extensive. News outlets around the world reported on the details of his horrific acts. The public was both fascinated and horrified by the revelations. Dahmer's story dominated headlines, and his name became synonymous with evil. The coverage delved into Dahmer's background, seeking to understand what drove him to commit such atrocities. Television programs and documentaries explored every aspect of his life. Interviews with family members, friends, and experts provided insight into Dahmer's psyche. Public reaction was intense, triggering a wave of fear and revulsion. Vigils and memorials were held for the victims, and people sought ways to come to terms with the horror. The media frenzy surrounding Dahmer's crimes highlighted the public's morbid curiosity and the need for responsible reporting. The impact of Jeffrey Dahmer's crimes extended far beyond his immediate victims. His actions left a deep scar on society, particularly in Milwaukee, where the community was left reeling from the horror. The community was left in shock, struggling to come to terms with the fact that such evil had existed in their midst. The sense of safety and trust was shattered, leaving many to question how this could happen in their own neighborhood. The families of the victims were devastated. Their lives were forever changed, marked by an unimaginable loss that words could scarcely describe. They were forced to confront the unimaginable pain of losing their loved ones in such a horrific manner. The grief was compounded by the brutal nature of the crimes, making the healing process even more difficult. Support groups and counseling services were established to help them cope with their grief. These services provided a crucial lifeline, offering a space for shared sorrow and mutual support. Law enforcement agencies also felt the repercussions. The case highlighted significant gaps in the system, prompting a thorough review of procedures and protocols. There was intense scrutiny over how Dahmer had managed to elude capture for so long. The public demanded answers, and the pressure on the police was immense. The investigation into Dahmer's crimes led to changes in how such cases were managed, aiming to prevent similar tragedies in the future. New policies and training programs were implemented to improve the detection and handling of potential threats. Dahmer's crimes also sparked discussions about mental health, criminal behavior, and the nature of evil. Experts and the public alike debated the factors that could lead to such heinous acts, seeking to understand and prevent future occurrences. The story of Jeffrey Dahmer is not just a tale of unimaginable horror. It is a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity and the lengths to which some individuals will go to satisfy their dark desires. It is also a cautionary tale about the importance of vigilance and awareness. Communities must come together to ensure the safety and well-being of their members. Dahmer was able to carry out his crimes for years, largely because his actions went unnoticed. His ability to evade detection highlights the critical need for community involvement in crime prevention. His seemingly ordinary demeanor masked a deeply disturbed mind. This duality is what made him so dangerous and difficult to identify as a threat. This ability to blend in underscores the need for heightened awareness in our communities. We must be vigilant and proactive in recognizing and reporting suspicious activities. One of the key lessons from Dahmer's case is the importance of paying attention to signs of unusual behavior. Small, seemingly insignificant details can sometimes be the key to preventing a tragedy. While it is not always possible to predict criminal activity, being observant can sometimes prevent tragedy. Community patrols and neighborhood watch programs can play a vital role in this effort. Law enforcement agencies have also learned from this case, improving procedures for handling missing persons reports. Enhanced training and better communication between agencies are crucial steps forward. Ultimately, the story of Jeffrey Dahmer serves as a stark reminder of the potential for darkness within individuals. It is a call to action for all of us to remain vigilant and aware. By fostering a culture of awareness and intervention, we can hope to prevent such atrocities from occurring in the future. Together, we can create safer, more connected communities where everyone looks out for one another.